All right, in this next chapter, what we'll talk about is working with comments. We'll talk about viewing comments and moderating comments, and we'll talk a little bit about comment spam. And then in just a little while, we'll also talk about adding additional users to your blog as well. So let's get started here. I'm looking at my live blog right now inside my preview tab of my web browser. And by the way, what I did just before I started recording here is I went and threw in some quick comments into the blog just so we'd have something to look at. So you may decide to do the same thing on your side as well, just so you have a few comments, so you have something to look at here. I'm going to scroll down in my blog here, and I can see here working with color and flash, that post there. I went and added on 2 comments, and I can see the comments there added just below the post there, just beside the categories and so on. And if I scroll down a little bit further, understanding Flash's drawing models, I added in 1 comment there. I'll scroll down a little bit more here. Creating shapes in Flash, 1 comment. There's no comment for my HTML editor post, remember that one? And same with the first post that you and I created, that welcome to my new blog post. I didn't bother sticking anything in there. But what I did want to mention is the default post that is created for us, this hello world post, comes with a comment. So if you don't have any extra comments inside your blog, you will have at least 1 comment to look at. And let's go and take a quick look at that comment. So I'm going to click on this 1 comment link. And what that does is that takes me into the post and scrolls me down to where the comment is located on the page. And we can see here, Mr. WordPress says, hi, this is a comment. To delete comments, just log in and view the post's comments. There, you will have an option to edit comments or delete them. And of course, we have the date and the time, and there's a little edit link there as well if we want to go and edit this comment. And then below that, we have the option to leave a reply ourselves. So that's really kind of the basics there, the fundamentals of viewing your comments. I'm going to head up to the top level of my blog. I'll just hit the back arrow there in my browser. And I'm going to go and show you some of the comments that I went and created myself inside our blog here. So I'll scroll all the way back up to the top. This working with color and flash. Remember, I created 2 comments for him. I'm going to go ahead and click on that guy. And I have these 2 comments here. Bob says, this is a fantastic post. Thanks so much. I learned a lot, and I'll be sure to share it with friends and coworkers. There's the date and the time. So not only do we have the name of the person who posted, and people don't have to use their real names. Oftentimes people will use screen names. And then we have some meta information for that comment, and then of course the body of the comment. And then we have the avatar, or what's sometimes called the gravatar for the user. Now the default here is just a blank sort of person there, a blank little icon, because that particular person doesn't have an avatar associated with themselves. And then below that, this is where we get into some comment spam. We have Viagra says, get the best rates on Viagra around. And notice the spelling there, the way that they've typed it in there. This is what spammers are often doing, this sort of stuff. So anyway, we'll talk about moderating these comments in just a moment. But in the meantime, I'm going to scroll down towards the bottom, and we have leave a reply. And right now, I'm logged in as myself, and I could go and log out if I want to, but I'm going to go and leave a comment here. So what I'll do is I'll say, oftentimes what you'll see is people will put an @ symbol and then the person's name. So I'm replying to Bob here. So @Bob, and then sometimes people put a full colon. You don't have to. And I'll say, hi, Bob. Thanks for the great comment. I'm glad you enjoyed. Best wishes, Jeff. Something like that. Okay. There we are. And then below that, I'll click on Submit Comment. Okay, now what happens here is because I happen to have an avatar associated with my account, I get that avatar showing up there. And of course, there's my name and the date and time that I went and created this comment. And of course, there's the comment body there. So at this point, all we're doing is we're just sort of touring around and having a look at the comments on the live side of the blog. But what we should do next is we should take a look at how comments are handled in the WordPress admin interface. Now that we've had a look at how the comments function in the live portion of our blog, let's go and see how they look and how we can handle them in the WordPress admin. So what I'm going to do here is I'll just flip over to my admin tab here inside my web browser, and I'm looking at my dashboard right now. Make sure you're looking at your dashboard as well, because I want to point out a couple of things. Remember, we have this Right Now module inside the dashboard, and that gives us a sort of an idea of what's happening on your blog right now. So we have 6 posts, and we have 4 pages, and we have 6 categories, and so on and so on. But over on the right-hand column, we have 6 comments and 6 approved comments. We'll talk about approved comments. We have 0 pending approval, and 0 comments have been marked as spam. And then if I scroll down just a little bit, we can see recent comments. And there's a comment that I just created a moment ago. Remember, I was replying to Bob not too long ago there. So it says, from Jeff on, and then the name of the post that I had commented on, and then sort of a chunk of the comment there. And what I can do here from this screen is I can unapprove this comment. I can reply to it. I can edit it if I want to edit the text content of the comment. I can mark it as spam. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Or I can delete it. I can trash it. And of course, if I continue scrolling down, I can see there's all of the comments that I've created on all of the posts here for us to look at. And of course, there's this view all option down at the very bottom. So inside your dashboard, you really get a glance of what's happening on your blog. And of course, as you begin writing more and more posts and you begin getting more and more viewers coming to your blog, you're really going to see some action starting. And of course, as a new blogger, it's exciting to get people to start commenting on your posts and things like this. Okay, so that's the dashboard view. I want to show you something else here as well. Over on the left-hand side, I'm going to go and expand posts. And I'm going to head into Edit, so make sure you click on Edit there. And of course, that brings us into this Edit Posts screen. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this Working with Color in Flash, this post here that I created. Go ahead and click on that fella. And of course, that brings us into the visual editor here, the Edit Post screen inside WordPress. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to scroll all the way down towards the bottom here. Keep scrolling there, and we'll have a comments module. Eventually, you'll get to it there if you keep scrolling. So I can view all of the comments that have been added to each individual post. So maybe I could go back to one of my previous posts that I wrote a week ago, and I can see all of the comments that have been added to that particular post, right? And again, what I see here is the person, the author who wrote the comment, the date that the comment was submitted on. We get, again, a bit of an excerpt here, a bit of a blurb here of the comment. And then again, we have our links: unapprove, reply, quick edit, edit, spam, and trash. And that, of course, applies for all of the comments that we have as a part of our post. So I hope all that's working for you. Okay, so you've seen where you can go inside the admin backend here for our blog. We can view our comments on the dashboard. We can view our comments on individual posts as well. What I'd like to do next is I'd like to talk about moderating all of your comments on all of your posts all in one shot. All right, let's have a look at where we can go to moderate all of our comments for our blog. On the left-hand side, in that left-hand menu, look for Comments. Go ahead and click on that fella. That'll bring you into this Edit Comments screen. And what we'll see inside this screen is a list of all of the comments that have been added to all of our posts throughout our WordPress blog. Now, let me show you a couple of quick things here. First of all, I'll use the comment that I had created just a moment ago when I was replying to Bob. So there's the author's name there in the first column, followed by the gravatar or the avatar, and also the person's email address as well. And oftentimes an email address will give you a good indication as to whether a particular comment is spam or not. For example, Keith's email address is deals@hotbargains.com. So I strongly suspect that this is spam. And when I go and read his actual comment, contact us for the best mortgage rates in town. Bad credit, no problem. All applications approved. So, all right, we have some spam there that we're going to have to deal with. But going back to my comment, my reply to Bob there. So we have the author and the gravatar and the email address. And then over towards the center there, we have this comment column. And again, we can tell when this comment was submitted. And we can read the content of the comment as well if we wish. And then finally, over on the right-hand column, we have in response to. So in other words, this is the post that this particular comment has been attached to, or that this comment is replying to, and that post contains 3 comments. For example, the piece of spam that we have here, this spam comment by someone named Keith, is a part of creating shapes in Flash, and it's the only comment on that particular post. Now, what we can do inside this screen is, obviously we can see all the comments throughout our blog. We can edit our comments, the comments that people have added. We can mark the comments as spam, and we can also delete the comments as well if we need to. And of course, you can do all of that simply by hovering over top of the comment and using the links that appear whenever you roll over top of a particular comment. Now, in just a little while, we'll talk about setting our comment options, but one of the defaults that's usually set for WordPress is that all comments have to be manually approved by default. And I went and turned that option off. I'll go and show you where that is in just a moment, but I turned mine off. So in other words, anyone can come to my blog and they can post a comment and it doesn't have to be manually approved by me. But if you do have that option turned on, you can come into this screen and rather than your screen reading unapproved, yours would read approve. So you could come in here and you could approve the different comments inside your blog. Now for myself here, because I don't have that manual approval system turned on, instead I have unapproved. So I could come in here and I could unapprove certain comments. For example, I'll click on this one here to unapprove it, and then of course I can come back and I can approve it there. As far as editing the comments goes, you can always use the quick edit if you like, which is your inline editor, or you can click on the edit link there. And sometimes people will do this if they want to correct a typo or, something like this inside someone else's comment. But editing other people's comments is a little bit risky because, well, first of all, if people realize that you are editing their comments, they may be less likely to comment in the future, right? And my kind of thing is, even if there's typos, even if there's spelling errors and things like this, hey, that's kind of the idea behind blogs, is it's a bit of a free-for-all. The idea behind comments is to let people have their say, right? Certainly don't want to get in there and start editing what people have to say. Anyway, you can set your own blogging policies. I'm just kind of throwing out my opinion here. I'm just going to back up here. I'm just going to use my back arrow inside my browser to head back to where we were. What else do we have here? Well, what I can do is if I find a comment that looks like spam, I could trash it, right, if I wanted to completely delete it from my blog. But I could also instead mark it as spam. And if I mark it as spam, what that's going to do is that's going to send a message to WordPress's software, Akismet. So in other words, what it'll do is it'll add this message, the person's email address, possibly their username, their author name, and their gravatar to the Akismet database, right? So you can certainly use that if you want to try and help out other bloggers get rid of spam on their websites. Because I'm just sort of demoing this for you, I'm going to use the trash option here. So I'm just going to trash Keith's comment there, which was definitely spam. And then Sammy has a comment here. I really love this post. Great stuff. Flash's drawing models have always confused me, but not anymore. Thanks again. That sounds like a legitimate comment to me, so I'm going to leave that in. And then, oh yes, our Viagra comment. I'm not even going to bother reading that. I'm just going to trash it. We know that's definitely spam there. This is a fantastic post. Thanks so much. I learned a lot, and I'll be sure to share with my friends and coworkers. That was the one that we saw earlier. Finally, we have that default Mr. WordPress comment there. I'm going to go and trash that guy. We don't really need that guy either. So there's a look at setting up your comment moderation inside the WordPress admin. I hope it all makes sense. Oh, the only other thing I wanted to mention really quickly is if you want to, right across the top here, you can always filter your view here. So if I have some comments that are pending review, I can sort that way, or I can look at all of the approved comments, or any comments I've marked as spam, or any comments I've trashed. The other thing, of course, you have is your bulk action there. So what I could do is I could mark off certain comments here if I want, something like this, and then I could use my bulk actions. So I could unapprove on sort of a mass scale, approve, mark as spam, or move to trash. Let's talk about setting up our discussion options for our blog. And this is really going to affect how comments are going to be handled, not only in the back end here of our WordPress blog, but obviously also in the front end, the live side of our blog. So what I'm going to do here is I'll head all the way down to the left-hand side, all the way down to settings. Go ahead and expand open settings. And we're looking for discussion. Look for that sub item there, discussion. Go ahead and pop that guy open. And I think we took a quick look at our discussion settings earlier when we were talking about trackbacks and pingbacks. And I was talking about the default article settings, and we had attempt to notify any blogs linked from the article, which slows down our posting. So we have that, and we also have the opposite, allow link notifications from other blogs, pingbacks and trackbacks. Now below that we have allow people to post comments on new articles. So if I don't have this guy turned on, then people won't be able to post comments on my posts. So if you want to have that, and that's really one of the big selling points of creating a blog in the first place, make sure this guy is turned on. Okay, let's scroll down here and take a look at some other options. We have other comment settings. Comment author must fill out their name and their email address before their comment can be posted. Probably a good idea, so make sure that that guy's turned on. Otherwise, anybody can comment without filling in their name or an email address. The user must be registered and logged in to comment. Well, I could turn that on if I want. And obviously what that means is that before a particular person can post a comment on one of my posts, they have to be registered on my blog, and they also have to be logged in. So perhaps you're creating some kind of a niche online community or something like this, and you want to sort of protect it from spammers and outsiders, that kind of thing. You can certainly use that option if you want. Now this next setting I quite like, actually. I can see a lot of potential for this. Automatically close comments on articles older than X number of days, right? So you can automatically disable commenting after a set number of days. Now, you could use that for all kinds of different things. Perhaps you're running a contest on your blog and it ends in 5 days, and you could close the comments after that 5 days so that you're not having people comment on a contest that ran last month or something like this. Enable threaded nested comments 5 levels deep, or however deep you want to go. What that means is that you can allow people to reply to their comments. Remember earlier I had a reply for Bob and I put @Bob, right? Well, instead of doing that, I could enable this threaded option, and that would allow people to reply to one another's comments. And I like that option because that really kind of encourages conversation on our blog posts, right? So turn that guy on, and then everybody has the option to reply to everybody else, right? Break comments into pages with 50 top-level comments per page, and the last page displayed by default. Comments should be displayed with the older comments at the top of the page. Now, this is really up to you. You can break up your comments there if you want, and you can decide how you want to sort your comments. That's really entirely up to you. I'm going to turn that off, though, I think, for my blog. Okay, below that, email me whenever anyone has posted a comment. I think that's probably a good idea. It's always nice to know when people have commented on your blog posts, whenever someone has left a comment. So I usually keep that guy turned on. Email me whenever a comment is held for moderation. Now, you can certainly turn that guy on if you want as well. Before a comment appears, an administrator must always approve the comment. So this guy here may have been turned on your side. This is the guy that I turned off earlier. And that was the setting that I was referring to not too long ago. And I said that the way that I had set my blog up is anybody can comment, no moderation, right? So that's up to you. You can certainly turn this on or shut it off. But if you do decide to have moderation, then you're going to have to babysit your blog just a little bit and make sure that your moderation queue doesn't get too backed up. A comment author must have a previously approved comment. Well, maybe that's not a bad idea, but you can certainly use that if you want. Okay, I'm going to scroll down a little bit here. Comment moderation. Hold a comment in the queue if it contains 2 or more links. That's usually what the spammers are doing. A common characteristic of comment spam is a large number of hyperlinks inside the comment. Now, this next list, I think, is really awesome. When a comment contains any of these words in its content, name, URL, email, or the IP address, it will be held in the moderation queue. 1 word or IP per line. It will match inside words, so press will match for WordPress. So maybe if someone uses the word spam, for example, or maybe if someone uses the word torrent or download something like this, well, maybe I want to check that out before I actually allow it to appear on my blog. Completely up to you, completely optional. You don't have to use it. But this next option here I love, comment blacklist. When a comment contains any of these words in its content, name, URL, email, or IP, it will be marked as spam, one word or IP per line. So, in other words, if you put Viagra into your comment, it's going to automatically be marked as spam. If you type in get rich into one of your comments on my blog, it's going to automatically be marked as spam as well. And you can add in as many items as you want. Just kind of a neat thing that you can do here to help sort of moderate your comments on your blog. Okay, let's finish this up here. We have avatars. An avatar is an image that follows you from webblog to webblog, appearing beside your name. That's why I had my avatar beside my name in my comment, because it follows me around the web. Avatar display, I can choose whether to display avatars on my blog. I can set a maximum rating if I want. I usually go with G, suitable for all audiences. And then finally, the default avatar. Remember, we had the mystery man avatar there. This is the avatar that'll appear if someone doesn't have an avatar following them around on the web. So you can go blank or Gravatar logo or any of the others there. I'm going to leave the mystery man though, I think, and don't forget to click on Save Changes all the way down at the bottom to lock in your discussion settings. One of the aspects that makes WordPress so flexible and such a popular platform to work on is that it allows for multiple users. So your blog is always going to have at least one user, and that's you, because it's your blog. And you, by default, have the role of administrator. So in other words, you have carte blanche on your blog. You can do whatever you want with your blog. You can customize it, you can write posts, you can moderate those comments and create pages and all kinds of stuff, right? But what's extremely cool here is you can add in other users. So maybe you're in a situation where you're running the blog for your company and you want to allow perhaps someone from the marketing department to also write posts, and you want someone else from the sales department to be able to write posts, but you want to limit them. You don't want them to be able to have as much freedom in terms of customization that you have as the blog administrator. So you can actually set up different profiles for these users, and you can actually control exactly what they do on your blog, which is extremely cool. So let's get started here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to head down to the left-hand side, down to Users. Go ahead and pop open Users, and go ahead and click on Authors and Users. And of course, this will give you a list of all of the users that you have set up on your blog right now. And you can have an unlimited number of users, by the way, which is very cool. So what we have here is just myself at this point, or yourself. And there's the avatar that we have associated to that particular account. There's the person's name, email address, and then their role. And as you'll see in just a moment, we can assign different roles or different levels of privilege, if you will, on our blog. And then finally, way over on the right-hand side, the number of posts that this particular user has created. And what you'll see as we really get going with this is running across the top, we can always filter our views. So I could say, all right, show me the 5 administrators that I have for this blog, or show me the 2 authors that I have for this blog, and so on. So as we add on more users, we can start to filter our view using these links that'll show up across the top here. So let's go ahead and add in a new user. So what I'll do here is underneath users, I'm going to head down to add new. Right away, it's asking me for a username or a screen name here. So I'm going to type in Bob Smith and his first name and his last name and his email address, something like this. And if I want to, I can add in his website URL if he has a website. And then I also have to include a password, and this is required twice. And I'm just going to stick in a very weak password. What I like about this, though, is we have this sort of this strength indicator here. I'm just throwing in a very weak password just because this is an example, but usually you want something very strong. And they're suggesting here to use symbols and lowercase letters and numbers and things like that to strengthen it up there a little bit. Send password. Send this password to our new user via email. Probably a good idea in the real world so that they have a record of it. But that's a fictitious email address, I think. Sorry, Bob. But what I'll do is I'll uncheck that because I don't want to send that. This is just a quick example here, of course. And then here's what I really wanted to show you here, the role. So what can Bob do on my blog? And we have a bunch of different roles here. We have subscriber, administrator, editor, author, and contributor. So what I'll do here is I'll rhyme through each of these in a brief capacity anyway, and you can kind of get a feel for what each of these roles can actually perform on your blog. So the first role that we have is the role of subscriber. And what a subscriber can do is they can read comments, they can comment themselves, and they can possibly receive your blog's newsletter. That's kind of it. So it's a sort of a base user role, if you will. Then we have administrator, and don't forget that you have an administrator role on your account for your blog. As the owner of the blog, you of course are the blog administrator. With an administrator account, that means that the person can change any aspect of the blog, carte blanche. So they can change the theme, the look and feel of the blog, they can customize things, they can add in widgets and plugins, they can create, edit, and delete pages and posts, and they can moderate comments and create other user accounts and things like this. Next up, we have an editor. An editor can upload files, they can write posts, they can moderate comments and manage categories and links as well. They can edit pages and they can edit other authors' posts, and they can also read and edit private posts as well. Okay, next we have an author. An author can upload files, they can write posts, they can delete their own posts, and unlike a contributor, which we'll talk about in just a second, the posts that an author creates don't need to be approved by an administrator. Okay, last but not least, our contributor. A contributor can upload files and they can write posts, but when they write a post, it's actually saved as a draft, which then must be approved by an administrator. So using the contributor role is really good if you want to moderate new authors on your blog. So I think that's what I'll do here. I'm going to set Bob up as a contributor, and then down at the very bottom here, I'll click on Add User. That brings me into the user screen for Bob, and I'm going to go back to authors and users here on the left-hand side. And there's our list of users. So there's myself, and there's Bob, which I just created a second ago. So very cool that you can add in additional users. And again, you can add in an unlimited number of users. A great way to allow contributors to add their say, add their content to your blog, but of course you also have some control in terms of what those people can do on your blog.